So, good morning again and welcome to our annual MGA Media Day. My name is Helen Stock and I'm the Director of Communications for the MGA. We're excited to be here at Glen to celebrate the start of the golf season in the Met area. Even though luckily we didn't have too rough of a winter, it's still a great feeling when we officially turn the calendar to spring when the golf season truly begins. Speaking of playing golf, I think I filled most of you in, but today's program will be brief so we can all get out there on the course and you all can experience for yourself what competitors in the 101st Met Open will face this August. I've been out here to Glen Oaks a few times throughout the winter and spring for some planning meetings, and every time we come back, the course just looks better and better, so I know everyone's looking forward to getting out there. Just to walk you through the day's schedule, you'll hear from our MGA Vice President, Michael Sullivan, in just a minute, and then we'll go through the 2016 championship lineup with Brian Mahoney. Vanessa Zink is here from the USGA, and she'll give us a quick update on the USGA events in our area. It's no surprise that the Met area is a hotbed for a number of national events year after year, and we're looking forward to those events as well. Then we'll get to our panel of distinguished guests. We have Ben Polland, Matt Dobbins, Sam Bernstein, Tim Shiflett, and Craig Currier, and then we'll get to one of the most important parts of coming to Glen Oaks, lunch. Before all of that, I just have a couple of housekeeping items to cover. First, I just want to extend a welcome to the editor of the MGA's award-winning magazine, The Met Golfer. Jeff Newman is here with us today. Jeff has worked with the MGA as the editor for the past 2.5 years and has continued to raise the bar at every level, and I know he aims to keep it that way, and I know we're excited to continue working with him. I know most of you here already know Jeff, but I just wanted to recognize the great work he does on behalf of the MGA and the Met Golfer. I can't talk about the success of the magazine without recognizing our dedicated publishing partner, PGA Magazine. We're happy to have PGA Magazine President Rick Summers here with us today. Rick and his team continue to keep the magazine thriving as a leader amongst regional publications and as one of the healthiest magazines in a time where more and more print publications are moving to digital only. So thank you, Rick, for joining us today. We also have a few new faces in the MGA Communications Department on staff, and I just wanted to make sure that you are all able to put a face to the name, as we'll be doing just that and communicating with you all throughout the championship season and beyond. First, beginning his first full season with us is Tim Harton, our Editorial and Communications Associate, standing in the back. You see all of Tim's work each month in our digital magazine, Met Golfer Extra, on our website, through our stories, and on our social media. You guys know Tim as the guy behind the camera during post-round interviews, and most of you here receive his championship coverage emails as well. Maddie Vetrano is our next key staff member. Maddie does just about everything, but is truly our graphics, video, and photo guru. In fact, she's behind the video camera today as well. You all have a copy of the 2016 MGA Media Guide on a USB drive in your gift bags, and we hope you enjoy the new and improved layout that Maddie has been working on for the last couple of months. Our media guide gives you an in-depth look at each of the MGA's 19 championships and is always available on our website for your reference as well. And last month we welcomed a new technology manager, Dan Potts. Dan has quickly taken the reins as the lead behind the scenes of the MGA website, the MyMGA app, and all of our internal databases, and we're happy to have him as part of the team. We also have our 2 interns for the season, Steve Gessing and Nick Schoen, with us somewhere, hopefully cleaning up the registration, so you'll see them at our events this season as well. This crew at the MGA all wears many hats and truly does a great job, not only during the season, but throughout the whole year. And on behalf of all of us, we just want to thank all of you for supporting our events, following our championship coverage, and interacting with us on all of our social media platforms. We truly try each and every year to come up with some new things, some new ideas to continue to be your source of golf in the Met area, and we do all of it for you, so we hope that you enjoy it. Now we'll get on to our program, but I just wanted to extend my own thanks to Glen Oaks. We're thrilled to be here and even more excited to come back this August for the 101st Met Open Championship. It is now my great pleasure to welcome our MGA Vice President, Michael Sullivan.
Thank you, Helen. Good morning. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today at the beautiful Glen Oaks Club. Certainly one of the area's most outstanding clubs and host of the 101st Met Open Championship this August. The MGA is very excited about the start of our championship season, which officially begins on May 10th with the 89th MGA Senior Amateur at Huntington Country Club, not too far from here. You'll hear more about our great lineup of host sites for this year's season in a few minutes from Brian Mahoney. But first, I'd like to acknowledge several reasons for the success of our championship program, and that begins with the support of our corporate partners. And we're delighted that several of them are here with us today. First, for more than 30 years, the MGA and MetLife have partnered in one of the longest-running corporate relationships in all of sports. MetLife has taken on a greatly expanded role in supporting the youth initiatives of our charitable foundation, including GolfWorks and our junior competitions and clinics. They sponsor 5 of our championships and are truly friends of the game. We are happy to have several of our friends from MetLife here today, and I'd like to ask Steve Slavic to please stand and be recognized. Thank you, Steve. Since 2012, we've partnered with Lexus when the Greater New York Lexus dealers became the association's first ever automotive sponsor. Lexus and the MGA have teamed up to offer a number of unique programs and incentives for MGA members, and I'm excited to announce that today we are officially kicking off the Lexus Perfect Drive to the US Open contest. A lucky MGA member will win 2 weekend tickets to the 2016 US Open at Oakmont, complete with access to Lexus VIP hospitality. Lexus will be providing airfare to Pittsburgh, a great 3-night stay, and of course, use of a brand new Lexus. So to Lexus, thank you. We also are pleased to continue our relationships with Nestle Waters, who through their Poland Spring brand is the official bottled water of the MGA, Vineyard Vines, the official apparel of the MGA, and Rolex, the official timepiece of the MGA. And I want to thank all of them for continued support of the MGA and our member clubs. I'd like to ask Tim Gurges of Vineyard Vines to stand up and be recognized. Tim? He's on his way. Okay. Lastly, but certainly not least, I'd like to extend a special thanks to today's host, the Glen Oaks Club, for their exceptional hospitality and for their continued support of the MGA and golf at all levels. Glen Oaks was recognized by the Met Golf Writers as their 2015 Club of the Year for their outstanding support of local charities, especially local golf groups, and for their incredible culinary talents, which I think was referenced earlier. Some of which we'll undoubtedly experience today, and all of which will burst into the regional and national scene over the next 2 years. They are truly a friend to local golf. The 2016 Met Open marks the first major MGA championship, and we're excited to showcase the immaculate course that Superintendent Craig Curry has managed since 2011. The Met Open will be a great preview of what will come when Glen Oaks hosts the leadoff event for the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup playoffs in 2017. We are honored to have them as our host site for this year's Met Open Championship. Really exciting kind of opportunity here on Long Island for the next 2 years. I'd now like to turn the program over to Brian Mahoney, our Managing Director of Rules, Competitions, and Gin Services, to give us a preview of the fantastic championship lineup we'll be seeing during the 2016 season. Thank you again for being here and being part of MGA's Media Day. Brian?
Good morning. Jeff just left the room. A couple quick update before I jump into my portion. Helen alluded to it, but for today, typically the MGA schedules events years and years in advance, and the reason that we do that is to avoid rain and poor weather. And today, unfortunately, we have one of my best friends on the media side, I call him Rain Man, Mike Doherty here. And Mike, unfortunately, is our kryptonite. And when he is present at championships or media-related things, it rains every time. So, Mike, this streak continues. Thank you. So what we're going to attempt to do is wrap this portion up a little bit sooner than we intended to, with the intent to jump into lunch. And I'm sure most of you are here for lunch anyhow, because the lunch is spectacular here. And then try to get out for golf at about 12:15. The weatherman says 2-ish is when we start dealing with some weather. So we're going to try to get 9 holes in. The back 9, what we're going to be using for the championship composite is what we're going to be playing, the blue 9. So all of you hope to enjoy that. So now jump into the preview for this year's championship season. MGA events are historic, well attended, and highly competitive. Many of the talented players directly behind me are the ones that are competing in our events. Our season starts, as it typically does, with our senior championships, both the senior amateur and the senior net floorball. There is just such an insatiable appetite right now in terms of the senior golf market. Both those events sold out within 2 months of opening. Huntington will serve as the kickoff event. It's almost 30 years to the day that Huntington has hosted this very championship, so we're very excited to start our year out on Long Island. Click. There you go. The MGA is very proud and honored to be responsible for conducting men's USGA qualifiers in the Northeast in the metropolitan area. One of 10 qualifiers in the U.S. Open Sectional will be conducted by us at Canoe Brook. This is the first of a 3-year commitment with Canoe Brook. We do utilize both golf courses, North and South course. North course serves as the primary championship course, and we usually see around 60 professional and amateurs from the area, some of the best competing on that day. It's a great day for golf. It was at some point branded by the USGA as golf's longest day. I don't know, they continue to refer to that as the golf's longest day. It's the shortest day for the MGA because we try to be in groups of 2 and finish first. It's a point of pride for us, but Canoe Brook will be a spectacular day early June for us. We head out east to a East End gem at Atlantic. This is a cooperative event with the MGA and the WMJ, about 5 years in the making for the women's Met Amateur. I reflect on the last time we were at Atlantic was in 2012, where Cameron Wilson won. He won by an incredible 9 shots. He was 8 under par. I think, Sam, you did compete in that event. If I remember, Sam was in the star-studded a leaderboard, the top 5, and a little fun fact, Sam finished 5th in that event, and the players that finished 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th have all won Player of the Years. So Sam, that might be a good omen, and I think that's exactly in the order that it's happened, so I think this is Sam's year, if for those that are keeping track at home. The next championship that we're going to move on to is our Ike, our stroke play championship, Essex County in New Jersey. This is the Tillinghast, Rayner, Banks specialty, kind of a composite of those 3 great golf architects. This is the first major of the year for the MGA. It's always a logistical challenge playing 54 holes in 2 days, 36 in the final day, but very much looking forward to being at Essex. We were there last for a mid-amateur championship in 2011, and again, just a spectacular golf course, one of the best back nines in the mid-area and arguably in the state of New Jersey, which is saying something. Public Links Championship. It is now the oldest Public Links Championship in the country, thanks to our friends at the USGA who chose to retire theirs. Spook Rock has been a great supporter for the last 3 decades, hosting 7 Public Links Championships. When we reflect on those 7 champions, 2 of those have gone on to win Met Senior Open, State Opens, and Met Opens. So obviously great accomplishments from the players that Spook Rock ultimately identifies as champions. Next event moving on is the Junior Championship, the oldest junior championship in the country. We're headed to the Patterson Club. Patterson was originally designed by Robert Trent Jones Sr. and over the last couple of years has gone through some improvements by his son Reese. Great championship venue. The Junior Championship now is modeled very similarly to our Met Amateur in that it's an on-site stroke play qualifying advancing to match play, and Patterson Club should provide a great test for the best juniors in the Met area. Speaking of the best juniors, the Carter Cup, for those that kind of follow, that's an invitational. Approximately 40 juniors are invited based on playing criteria and earning spots throughout the year. It's typically hosted at Baltusrol, and because of the Olympics, which has screwed up everything, we're unfortunately dealing with a PGA Championship conflict at Balti, so therefore, unfortunately, the kids playing have to go play Winged Foot instead. So instead of playing the upper and lower, they get to play the east and the west. We've already received some complaints. We're working through those. But again, it should be a spectacular one-day 36-hole event. Moving on to another Met Major, the Met Amateur, the oldest championship for the MGA, being conducted at the Country Club of Fairfield. The MGA was last at Fairfield in 2008 for the Met Open. I got the peanut gallery in the back. Obviously a spectacular venue, terrific for match play, especially for those that have been there. I don't know if you can find a more enjoyable, more scenic golf course. And if you think of just the strategy of match play, I think it'll play so well into this golf course. And obviously the things that have transpired post superstorms, this place is really sparkling and ready for a championship. Moving on, we're here. 100 years of the Met Open, and congratulations to our 100th Met Open champion, Ben Pollan, who's here. We decided for the 101st version, we're going to do something a little bit different. For those that typically know, the traditional dates for the Met Open are usually that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, third week of August. This year, we're going to be sliding the event to a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're doing this in large part to move the Pro-Am a week earlier, to give one of the best superintendents in the area an opportunity not only to prep for the Pro-Am, which is, you know, for all these people in the audience are playing in, but for the pros the following week in the championship. If you reflect on Glen Oaks, the last championship they hosted was in 1969, our MGA Senior Amateur. Since then, the golf course has gone through some dramatic changes. I think in 2010, Craig, I think they made you an offer you could not refuse. Brought in the highly talented and highly renowned superintendent, and has made significant changes in a 4-year construction plan to this 27-hole facility. We're excited to kind of debut the composite, which will be utilized by the tour. Michael Sullivan referenced, obviously, hosting the MGA's Premier Championship this year, and then the first of the FedEx Cup playoff events next year. So it should be a spectacular Met Open. We follow that up with our Senior Open. The Senior Open has really become a Met Open light. If you look at the senior group of golfers these days, so many are playing very high-end competitive golf into later years. A part of that is probably nutrition and the workout regimen and CrossFit and all the other training exercises. But looking at, obviously, Brooklong is a host venue. They've hosted 4 USGA championships, the junior, the girls, the senior and women's open. So very much looking forward to being at Brooklong for that championship. Tuxedo, we decided to put this in. Obviously, we do conduct 19 championships throughout the year. I'm focusing on some of the higher end, more competitive ones. Tuxedo is the home to our executive director, Jay Matola, great friends of the association, and their first championship that they hosted for us was back in 1902, Met Amateur, where a player by the name of Walter Travis won convincingly. Jay, you're in the room. Do you want to tell us about that event back then?
Walter played great that day.
You played great that day. Thank you, Jay. He tells stories often in the office about that event. Our mid-am.
Ryan, are you going to talk about the favorites for the...
The favorites? Jay has sworn that he will not retire until he wins a MGA championship. I myself have great power in the ability of disqualifying players in competitions. So I feel very strongly that most of the field will be wiped out for some rules violation, and Jay will ultimately be the victor. Go Matola. Enough about you, Jay. We're going to move on. Moving on to our Mid-Am Invitational. Again, this is not friends and family. This is based in playing criteria. We often get asked about how we determined Mid-Am being 35. For a moment, not taking a pot shot at the USGA and our friends there, but 25 really has not bid anything. It's just eliminating the college players. So we did an analysis of what makes sense from a mid anything for our membership and concluded 35 years old. Great group of golfers, 10 years in the making, and the winners walk away with not the Westmoreland, we call it the General's Cup. General's Cup named after Gene Westmoreland, the greatest tournament director in the history of golf. And last but not least, we conclude our year a little bit out of the box, our normal championship programs with our international matches. The French-American match, which is an international match alternating every other year between the Ligue de Paris and really our all-star team. It's a team comprised of the 6 best male golfers in the Met section, as well as 4 females determined by the Women's Metropolitan Golf. It's going to be at Stanwich this year. Stanwich and the Witch Tees should provide an incredible challenge. We were there last in 2013 for the Met Amateur. Just a great way and a great golf course to kind of wrap up our championship season. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our friends at the USGA. Vanessa Zink is here. Vanessa is the Assistant Manager of Championship Communications, just to give a little update about what's going on at Far Hills. Vanessa.
Thank you. I'm gonna hide my pregnant tummy behind this podium. Big thank you to the MGA for allowing us the opportunity to come out here today. There are 2 USGA championships being held in the Met area this year. The first is the 2nd US Amateur 4-Ball Championship. We're really excited about this new popular team event. It's going to be held May 21st to the 25th at Winged Foot. The East course will be used, and the West course will serve as a stroke play co-host. This is the 12th USGA Championship at Winged Foot and the first since the 2006 US Open. Sorry, I also get out of breath very quickly these days. This is the 70th USGA Championship in New York, and that's only behind Pennsylvania and California in the number of USGA championships hosted. This year we've accepted 2,432 team entries for this championship, which is up from 200 from last year's inaugural event, so we're really excited to see the growth of this championship. Sectional qualifying was already conducted at 51 sites nationwide, so we know the field. In the field, there are 3 USGA champions. We have 2014 US Mid-Amateur champion Scott Harvey, and then the defending 2015 US Amateur 4-Ball champions Todd White and Nathan Smith will be back to defend their title. Nathan is also a 4-time US Mid-Amateur champion, so we're really excited to have him back in the field. This championship will receive at least 5 hours of live network coverage on FS1 on May 24th and May 25th, so we're excited about that as well. The USGA communications point for this championship is Brian DePasquale. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to Brian. There's also a fact sheet on this championship in the back of the room if you want to pick that up on your way out. The second championship we are holding in the Met area this year is the 68th US Girls Junior Championship. And really excited that we have 2 members from Ridgewood Country Club, where the championship will be hosted with us today, Kevin Shea and Matt Mastrangelo. Thank you for coming. We're really excited to be hosting this championship at Ridgewood. It's an incredible course. We're going to be using holes from all 3 of Ridgewood's 9-hole courses, the East, Center, and the West. And this is their 4th USGA championship, the first since the 1990 US Senior Open. So we're really excited to be back at Ridgewood. Entries for this championship close on June 1st, and we expect to receive close to 1,200. And then sectional qualifying will be conducted at 37 states nationwide starting June 13th, with the nearest site at the Appowamis Club in Rye, and that will take place on June 27th. The defending champion, Yoon Jung Sung from South Korea, she'll be playing in the field, as will runner-up Angel Yin. And this championship will also receive 4 hours of live network coverage on FS1, so the Met will be represented twice nationally on TV this year. The USGA communications point for this championship is Pete Kowalski. You can direct all your questions to Pete. And just a shout out for the save the date for our media day, which will be June 1st. And invitations will be sent out for that next week. As always, if you'd like to cover either of those championships, you just need to apply for media credentials, and those are now accessible at our new online media center, which is at usga.org/online media center. So that's really it. If you guys want fact sheets on either of those championships, they're in the back, and thanks again, MGA.
Perfect. Thank you, Vanessa. Those are both great courses in our area and all our great friends to the MGA. So we're excited for those events this summer. I'd now like to formally introduce our panel of special guests. Everyone sitting up here you have definitely heard about in some context, whether on a local or national level, as a key figure in the golf community. And thank you in advance, and we're thrilled all of you could join us today. I'll start by introducing our defending Met Open champion in 2015 Met PGA Assistant Player of the Year, Ben Pollan of Deepdale. Next we have 2015 PGA Professional and Met PGA Player of the Year, Matt Dobbins of Fresh Meadow. Sam Bernstein, our 4-time MGA Player of the Year honorable member and 2-time U.S. Amateur qualifier from Century. Longtime Glen Oaks head professional Tim Shiflett, and Glen Oaks superintendent and 2-time host superintendent of the U.S. Open at Bethpage, Craig Courier. So I'll start out with an introductory question for each of our panelists, then we'll open it up to the audience for a Q&A. And I'll start with our defending champion, Ben. Ben, when you look back on your win at the Met Open at Winged Foot, what are you the most proud of, and what would it mean for you to become the first back-to-back Met Open champion since Johnson Wagner did that in 2001 and 2002?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us all here. This is a pretty cool day that the MGA puts together with Glen Oaks as well. But looking back on the Met Open, I haven't seen the trophy since you took it from me from the golf shop. But yeah, it has to be embraced. It's good to see the name on there and everything. But all the names and everything on here, it's just there's such a rich history of the Met Open and the MGA. It's the Golf Association itself, but that tournament that week, just grind really. It's always been probably the event I look forward to the most each year that we have up here, and knowing that Daryl Kester, my boss, has won it 3 times, and it just meant a lot to me, and it was a really tough day. I know that that final round is playing really tough, and a lot of up and downs, a lot of putts, but I mean that's just what that course required. It was just a good short game, and I just happened to have it that week. But yeah, back-to-back champions. I know Daryl did it, and I see it right here, 82 and 83. Bobby Hines, and then obviously a couple of guys that have had success on tour like Johnson and Svoboda winning it a couple of times. I'm going to try my best. I have hopefully a Canadian Tour event the week before that finishes up this Sunday before the Met Open starts. So hopefully there's no delays in the flights or anything, and I can make it back in time.
So Matt, you closed out last year by competing in the PGA's Winter Series in Florida, where you locked up the PGA Professional of the Year award. Can you take us back to that week and tell it what it was like when you became the 3rd Met PGA member to win that title?
Well, usually that time of year for me is all about recharging batteries, getting staffing finalized for the following year, and nursing any injuries that I seem to put on myself every single season. This year was a little bit different because I had played well enough to be in the mix for National Player of the Year, and I figured if I didn't go down there and try and win it this year, you never know when you're going to get another chance to do that. So I went down there to play against guys like Ben and Bob Sowers and Alan Moore and a bunch of other guys that would have liked nothing more than to come back and put a nice little sour note to the end of my year. But I was lucky. I went down there playing well, and I kind of sealed the deal early with a win in the second event after Ben had... Did you win the first event? Yeah, Ben had won the first event. Like he wins just about everything else these days. And, I snuck one in on everybody in the second event, wrapped the award up. And as I look back at 2015, I accomplished a lot of goals that I eventually wanted to have happen. And as I got older, it was becoming less and less of a possibility that might occur, and the National Player of the Year was sort of a cherry on top of really what I wanted to accomplish before I retired, which was winning the Met PGA Section Player of the Year. That's really a difficult award to win, almost as hard to win as the Met Open, so it felt really good, and now I have to regroup which is sort of hard to get. You feel good about yourself and things are going good, and then you go out to your home course and shoot 80 yesterday, so you got to kind of figure out how am I going to avoid doing that next week on the PGA Tour. But the game never ends, and the pursuit of improvement never ends, and that's why Sam is up here, that's why I'm up here, that's why Ben is up here, that's why Tim is up here, and Craig is up here because he's good at growing grass. But in all seriousness, it's an honor to be here because I can make a few putts here and there and get a little bit lucky, win some events, and as a result, I get to sit next to great players at great venues like Glen Oaks and try and get a little bit better every day. So maybe I can do this 1 or 2 more times.
You only have 9 holes out there today to work on it, so. Sam, you've had a very successful career as a young amateur and in college. Now you've graduated, you're working. Last year you qualified for the U.S. Amateur and you were a quarterfinalist in the Met Amateur. Can you just share with us some of your goals for this season?
Sure. I mean, first, I'd like to thank the MGA and Glen Oaks for having us here. I think for me and most of the amateur players, kind of my age and the college players, the MGA Major Championship season is the highlight of our summer and something we really look forward to. And we certainly appreciate that being a junior player and a college player. But then when you enter the workforce and all of a sudden these days become even more limited and kind of more valuable, they mean that much more going into the season. So, my first goal is just to try to get in as many events as possible while also balancing my schedule with work. But to play in the Ike and the Met Am and I've had a lot of kind of close calls with those events before, and there's obviously some incredible competition in the area, and Brian hit on a few of the players, but you look at Cameron Young and Max Buckley and Cameron Wilson, Mike Miller, the list goes on, and these guys have all put up incredible performances in the past, and you just know that in kind of preparing for these events, as much as I'd love to go out there and compete and win, that there are 10 other guys doing the exact same thing and doing it at a very high level. So I'll be trying as hard as I can to find half-hour, 30-minute, an hour kind of gaps in my schedule where I can go out and practice during the week, and on the weekends I'll be focusing extra hard to make sure I'm ready for a bunch of these events and the stiff competition that comes at the amateur level here. And that's just before you even get into some of the pros in the area, and if I were lucky enough to qualify again for the Met Open, dealing with the guys on my right would be a extra tall task. But first thing first would be to get to the Met Open, so let's hope I get that far.
Craig, I'm going to jump down to you. As Brian mentioned, the course here underwent a pretty significant renovation that finished up a couple of years ago. How would you compare the course from before the renovation to its current state as you get ready to host the Met Open next year, the Northern Trust?
There's a few less trees. It was all hurricane related, though. I had nothing to do with any of it. So thank you to Sandy. I guess briefly, it was a really tight tree line golf course, and now it's a fairly wide open, a lot of fairways and holes are all linked together. The whole place kind of flows together now, and it's the bunkers are certainly a different style than they used to be. They used to be flat, and they all had like the same little finger in them. Now they're all flash sand, kind of Augusta-like bunkers with, there's no rough in front of them, so all the fairways run into the bunkers. It's just a real kind of clean, elegant look we tried to make, and the greens stayed the same pretty much. So it's the course is going to be so easy this summer for these guys. There's big fairways, nice soft greens. No rough. I think 10, 12 under is probably going to win this year, right, Matt?
And now, Tim, you obviously have a great knowledge of this course. which holes do you think will be crucial in deciding the 101st Med Open champion? And do you see Glen Oaks setting up particularly well for a particular type of player, long driver, strong iron player?
First of all, it's an honor for Glen Oaks to be hosting this great event, so thank you to the MGA for coming to us, and we're really proud to be having this event. As far as the golf course goes, you can't really fake it out there. You've really got to be able to do everything. It is more open than it used to be, but you still have to use your driver because there's some pretty good length. It's going to play about 7,300 yards, par 70. You know, Craig might want it 7,600 yards, par 70, but we think 7,300 is enough. So it's going to play long. You have to use your driver. You've got to be able to use your irons very well to control your ball on the greens. And short game around the greens, we're a little bit different than, say, your average Northeast course where we have a little bit more fairway grass around some greens. So you got to kind of play an array of short game shots, some from rough, some from fairway, fairway height rough around the greens. So I don't really see it favoring any one particular style. 2009 in the Met PGA, Colin Amaral won here by 5 shots, and he's not a bomber. Obviously, if you drive it long, like guys like Matt and myself, it's always an advantage. Length is always an advantage, but you got to play the par 4 as well. There's a lot of strong par 4s. The first 8 holes is a very, very tough start. And then holes 9 through 15, you've got some good birdie opportunities. And the last 3 or 4 holes coming down the stretch, you've got to really control your golf ball. So it'll be a great championship, and we look forward to it. And you really got to be a complete player.
We're looking forward to it too. At this time, if anyone in the audience has any questions, we'll continue the Q&A session. Okay, go ahead.
I understand there's nudity on ATV, doesn't matter.
There's a couple.
But how similar will the course be set up for the Med Open and then the Barclays?
I think it's going to be harder for the Med Open.
If you had your way, man.
Yeah, it might be harder for the Med Open, actually. I know these guys like the greens as fast as they can get them, so I think the tour only wants some 12. But no, honestly, we're going to try and make it identical, because it'll be a great test for us to see, if we do need to make any more changes next year before those guys come. But that's why we're really excited. The timing is perfect for us to have this, and it should be, on a good scale of to see what we got to come.
Anyone else? Well, you can listen to my questions. So, for Ben and Matt, you guys both had great years last season. You kind of alluded to some of your goals for this year, but you both won multiple events. What specifically about last season stands out to you, and what are you most looking forward to this season?
Last season, yeah, obviously it was really, really fun. Got to play in a lot of big tournaments that I had on my list of goals, like the PGA Championship, the Club Pro, but I think one of the more fun weeks that I had all of last year was the PGA Cup, which was out in Cordoba. It's the tournament where it's like a Ryder Cup style format where PGA Club pros from the States play guys from GBI, Great Britain, Ireland, and unfortunately we didn't win that week, but regardless it was still a really fun week and a lot of good memories. And playing in the PGA Championship was also my first PGA Tour event, being a major championship at an incredible venue in Whistling Straits that I didn't play as well as I would have liked, obviously, but it's hard to hit golf balls when your hands are shaking for the first time. It's just really good experience, and that's probably what would sum up 2015 the most for me. It was just a lot of new experiences that I learned a lot from, and I'm getting to use that experience to hopefully make 2016 even better.
Right. My goals for this season are pretty simple. One, I try and figure out a way to improve by 1% every day. So, I figure if I can kind of get just a tiny bit better every day, and I can carve out I try and carve out an hour a day to really kind of focus on and my own game at the end of the day or before the day gets started at Fresh Meadow. That's really the process of getting better is what I try and engulf myself in. I tend not to do well with expectations and putting numbers on it, but as professionally speaking, I'd like to play in as many majors as I possibly can because those events are truly special. The history, the aura that surrounds a major championship is something that's just impossible to replicate, no matter how important or big the tournament is. So I have the opportunity this year into the sectionals to try and qualify for the U.S. Open, and then at the National Club Pro, I've got the opportunity to qualify for the PGA. So if you back me into a corner, I'd say if I were able to qualify for one of those events, I'd be extraordinarily happy. If I was able to qualify for two of them, I would consider the year a resounding success no matter what happened at those events or any other event I played.
Lori?
Sure, for Ben, now that you've had some time to think back on last week's Men Open and that shot on the last hole, where does that kind of rank for you compared to your situation? And you had to make birdie and you stiffed it.
That 7-iron kind of redeemed itself. That was the club that hit into the water at the Club Pro. So it's all level now. Yeah, it was a tough shot. It was a mud ball plugged like right next to a sprinkler head that must have been leaking or something in the fairway. And it was probably the only issue. If you want to bring that up with Steve, Greg, because I wasn't too happy when I saw that. Yeah. But yeah, I hit the ball and it kind of started drawing, and then it faded, and it went to like 7 feet, and made the putt. But it's stuck with me. I mean, that was a big shot, and I knew I needed to make birdie, or that was my only chances to make birdie. And it just felt good to execute a plan like that.
Sam, can you talk about the work-golf balance? And I know it's still kind of new, but how are you going to plan and prepare?
Sure. It's definitely new. I think, I started after an adventurous kind of year or so after school, mixing golf and some other work travels. Basically started a job last August, and having already qualified for the USAM and the Med Open, I like to call it a soft start where I was playing a lot of golf in the first few weeks. But pretty much after that, it's been worked through the winter up till this point. I think I've carved out a few days for certain tournaments, mainly the MGA majors and the USAM floorball. But I'd say kind of just getting the most out of my weekends, I'm sure 95% of the rest of the golfing world that has to kind of work on the weekdays. And then I've been trying to get the Chelsea Piers as much as I can in the city, just to hit some balls and get the kind of feeling back in the game. I'd say it'll be a unique challenge, but the way my game is kind of set up, I would say I've never been the purest ball striker from tee to green, but I've always been very good at getting the most out of my game, in part because of my kind of putting, which is largely the strength of my game. So if I can figure out a way to keep the putting stroke in somewhat decent form, I think I'm in good shape to at least handle this kind of work-life golf balance, which is tricky to do for sure, especially when I have a younger brother who is 4 years younger and playing golf every day in college. Doesn't make it easy, but I'll do my best.
Hi, Craig. Do you miss another ride, perhaps, of getting that page ready for 2 U.S. Opens, or has that been replaced with your work here?
It's definitely different. It's been fun. Yeah, I mean, you could argue this was almost a bigger redo than we did Bethpage, so it's been fun. We had the Met Section Championship a couple of years ago, and then we're having obviously the Met Open, and then with the Barclays coming, so it's certainly kept me busy. But I'm anxious for you to go see it out there. It's been just, whether I work on whatever golf course it is, I just love doing what I do, and I love hosting these guys. It's going to be a lot of fun to have the best players in the section come and the whole area, and it's certainly keeps me motivated.
A question for Matt. As a fellow PGA golf professional, I understand the duties and responsibilities you encounter every day. What would you say your priorities are during the course of the day, and how would you rank them?
My first priority is making sure that my family is set for the day and Caitlin has the right lunch packed in her bag before we send her off to school, and that there's no fires in the house. And then once I get to work, my first priority is servicing the membership. I mean, that's my main goal. That's what drives me every day, is to build a golf program that Fresh Meadow can be proud of, and that incorporates everything that's good about the game of golf and is able to promote it to our members and kids growing up in the game. And then I'd say my third priority is making sure that my staff is being developed in the right way, and they're learning the right way, and they're doing the right things. And then once all that's said and done, and then I go check on the caddy program and make sure that they're doing the right things. Luckily, I have a great starter, Doug Grant, who makes that very easy for me. And then once all that's said and done, I'm giving individual lessons, trying to help people with their own neuroses regarding their game. And then usually what I do, Darren, is 30 minutes before my first lesson, whether it's 8 a.m. or 7 a.m., sometimes 6. I'll get there 30 minutes early and I'll pick one thing I want to work on. That might be a mechanic. It might be a certain ball flight, and I'll just do that one thing for 30 minutes. And then at the end of the day, after my last lessons, I spend 30 minutes doing something else. Usually involves another part of the game, whether it's mid-range putts. I've become much more organized now that I have a lot of metrics from the PGA Tour. I understand where my weaknesses are, so it's a lot easier to build a plan that's effective, that doesn't take all day long, where I can get a little bit better at the areas that I'm weak at. And I'm fortunate to have enough data from the tour to be able to understand exactly where I need to improve to be more competitive at the highest level. So my pecking order really is family, membership, staff, and then me. And that's how I try and approach every single day.
Ken, you've been here for a while now, and so you've seen the changes from what was always a very, very good golf course to what we have up there now. You know about the membership and how they've embraced the changes, and the sadness over the storm taking down those trees, and whether the new pride that they're taking has led to an opening up to hosting national championship.
Sure, it's totally different. I got here in 2001, and it was a very, very tight tree-lined golf course, and you really were kind of playing through, narrow corridors. And once Craig got here, we kind of got a master plan going, and I would say most people right off the bat were very enthusiastic about it. They trusted Craig. They trusted the plan that we had. And for the most part, it was very, very positive. I mean, you're always going to get some things, but overall very positive. And, the membership has learned through widening fairways that when you make a fairway wider and you create some angles, driving becomes a better strategy. Where am I going to hit the driver instead of just hitting a fairway? So I think the golf course is a lot more enjoyable. I think the members enjoy it. Some say it's easier. I don't see it. I haven't seen scores go down, but it's totally transformed from trying to hit a narrow corridor to, it's definitely a little bit more relaxing off the tee, but it gets harder as you get to the green, because of the size of the bunkers, because of the chipping areas that we've created. So it's just a different challenge, and overall members have been very, very pleased.
A question for Sam. Did you give any thought to pursuing tournament golf on a professional level, and what were the considerations in your choosing the path that you chose?
Sure. So after school, I basically spent, call it 8 months or so, basically committing full time to golf. I went to Q school in the States and in Europe as an amateur, and didn't really do that well in the States, but made it to made it through the first stage into the second stage in Europe, and I guess there were a few things that crossed my mind. I like to tell this story a lot, and you see a lot of great players in the area, and then I got out there. I played with this guy who was basically telling me he was struggling to keep his card on the European Tour. He bounced back and forth, and then the guy goes out and shoots 67, 63. He missed maybe 4 or 5 putts inside 10 feet when he shot the 63. It was still a course record at this qualifying course, and I just kind of noticed how good a lot of these guys are. And frankly, it's a credit to the two players on my right who have both competed at a national level and done so extremely well, to just show you how really well they're playing, and the level of competition out there is so strong that, to me, to get there, one, would be obviously incredibly challenging, but two, I really, I valued the amateur game. I think it's a credit to the MGA in part because of the extremely high quality of events that they run every summer, and everything from the execution of the events to the facilities that they get. That all kind of factored into my decision, and I thought that at the end of the day, I could pursue other interests, some of the things I was focusing on at school, while at the same time competing at an amateur level and high level of amateur competition was still really attractive to me. And then just to kind of seal the deal, I got back from Europe, and 2 weeks later tore my ACL playing basketball. So that kind of confirmed it for me, and I'm really happy with the decision I made. I love my job. I think hopefully in the next kind of 5 years I'll have a bit more time for golf, but at the same time there are areas where you can still remain relatively competitive, and hopefully I take advantage of those opportunities this summer. So.
I think we have time for one more question if anyone has any last thoughts. Jay?
Just ask Matt, what other events do you have on the PGA Tour coming up with your exemptions?
Hey Jay, I've played, you get 6 exemptions when you win the National Club Pro, and I've used 4 of those exemptions, and I've been competitive, missing the cut in Mississippi by 1, missing the cut in Riviera by 2, missing the cut in Puerto Rico by 2, and then I finally made a cut last week, or 2 weeks ago, at the Shell Houston Open. I was able to make my first cut on the tour there. And for the record, if you finish in 72nd place on the tour, they pay you $12,501.50. Not that I was paying attention to that, by the way. So that leaves me with 2 more events left. I'm playing the Wells Fargo in Charlotte next week, and the reason is it's sort of a pretty good timing for us. We're still not in full gear at Fresh Meadow by that point, and on top of that, it's somewhat easy to get to, and on top of that, they're playing the PGA Championship there next year. On top of that, I heard it's an unbelievable golf course, and all the players that I spoke to on the PGA Tour have become somewhat friendly with, all told me that if I don't go play the Wells Fargo, then I'm making a mistake, because it's widely regarded as the best tour event of the season on tour. So I've got that event, and then my last PGA Tour start will be in mid-July, opposite of the British Open at the Barbasol down in Alabama. And then my tour streak will be up for the year, unless by some miracle I win the National Club Pro again.
Okay, I think we're just in time for lunch. Thank you all for joining us today.